Hello again.
All right. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. How are we doing? Fantastic. My name is Mr. Dake. I work here at the Dennos Museum, and I'm meeting with you virtually today. So we're actually kind of visiting the museum, but on a camera cart. And so I can actually move you around and go visit parts of the museum. We're going to spend a few minutes together this morning talking about some artworks that will connect with a book that you've read recently. And I've got that book right here. And this book is Fry Bread. And I'm curious, how many of you, raise your hand, have visited the museum before? A few of you. Good, good. So tell me a little bit about Fry Bread. Tell me something you remember or something you liked about reading this book. Go ahead.
That what I like about Fry Bread is that there's some good ingredients with it.
There's good ingredients, and it made it delicious, didn't it? What was it?
Yeah, I heard you actually had a chance to eat some fry bread, right, when you read the book, so that was cool.
Kind of based on a true story.
It's kind of based on a true story.
Yeah, the book it tells a story of how Kevin and his family used to make fry bread. Great.
I like that it tells the story about his life.
It told a story about his life and how he remembered being with his auntie and learning all those cool things. When they were playing with the dough. Yes.
Say how fill up the basket for the bread.
Oh, you liked it when they were weaving the basket for the bread? Okay.
This is on the back cover, this picture, and these are the folks that were making the bread and eating the bread. What would we call that group? They gathered together in the kitchen and they made the bread together.
Do you know?
Family.
A family.
Family, exactly. So we're going to look at artwork that shows families today. And we're going to look at two artworks to do that. And then we're going to look at one more artwork because this is a Native American story and fry bread is a Native American food. We're going to look at one artwork that is made by a Native American that lives in our region. So first, we're going to look at this family portrait that's right behind me, but it's very small, very tiny. So I'm going to pick you up and I'm going to take you over there. And as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about family. So we know the title of this work is The Family. And so we already know that information, but let me ask you, what do you see?
A little girl and a mother and father.
Little girl and a mother and father.
I see like lines in them, a lot of lines to make it look realistic.
Oh, a lot of lines to make it look realistic.
I think it's a little boy, not a little girl.
You see a little boy. Okay.
One kid.
And two what?
Two grown-ups. Two grown-ups.
Yeah, so one kid and two grown-ups. And of course, family can be a lot of different things, right? Families can include your grandparents, your aunts and uncles. It can also be your neighbors or just friends that are considered family. But this particular family is two grown-ups and a child. What would you say, how would you describe their expression, their facial expression? What kind of emotion do you think they're showing us?
They feel happy. Because I like see them smiling and because they're like a family together. They might be like really glad. I feel like they don't look happy, but I feel like they're happy inside. They just don't. They're like straight face.
They have straight faces, so you don't see a happy expression, but you think they're probably happy inside.
The parents look worried.
The parents look worried.
Great, yeah. So, and this is sort of like a family portrait, what we would call a family portrait, because it's a picture of a family. If you've had a family portrait in your family, what kind of facial expression do you usually have?
A smile. Smile.
Smile.
Yeah, big smile, right? And yeah, so it's a little different than what we might think of for a family portrait where everybody's smiling. But I like that you kind of picked up on this idea that, you know, the family being together, that would bring a certain amount of happiness or gladness to the people. So thank you so much for sharing that. This is a print by an artist named Hilmar Friedrich, and he's a German artist. And like I said, it's called The Family. So it's a nice picture to kind of get us thinking about what family is and what it might look like. We're going to look at one more work that's very different, but still is actually called The Family. So it's a different artist, but it's called The Family like this one is. And we'll talk a little bit about differences that we notice.
He's moving his camera around. That's the next piece of artwork. Look at that.
I'm glad.
So this one, I'll show you how big it is. I'm standing right in front of it. Oh my gosh, it's very big. So besides the size, what are some differences you notice between this family and the other family we looked at?
Okay. Oh, I heard it. Yeah. They're made out of wood.
Made out of wood, okay.
They're really big.
Yeah.
Oh, they look like the dentist tools.
Oh, sure. Yeah. They look very different, right?
They look like animals.
Okay. Some of them do look like animals, so they have sort of like antlers or ears.
It's like a bunny.
Oh, one of them looks like a bunny.
Yeah.
They have holes in them.
Yep. They have holes in them.
Holes carved in them. Great. And the first picture, we had mom and dad and a kid. We had 3 people. How many people are in this one?
How many are in this one?
5.
5.
5. So if we have 5 people in this one and 3 people in the other one, how many more people are in this one? 2 more. Yeah. So we have 2 more people. Also, we mentioned snuggling, right? They're the 3 people were kind of really close together. What are these 5 people doing as a family?
Holding hands.
Yeah, they're holding hands. So in fry bread, in the book, it talked about fry bread is shape, fry bread is color, fry bread is time, fry bread is family, right? So that's the things we're talking about. But let's talk about shape. So in this sculpture, what shapes do we see?
What shapes do we see? Yes.
Oh, heart.
A heart shape.
Okay. Right there on the top in the middle there.
Circles.
Circles. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of circles. These are kind of like circles, but they've gotten longer. What do we call those shapes when they're long?
Oval.
Ovals. Fantastic. What other shapes do we see?
A triangle because kind of the middle one has like a triangle facing up and then a triangle facing down.
The middle figure has a triangle facing up and a triangle facing down.
Yeah, triangle, but it's sort of rounded on the end. So this one's almost like a teardrop or a raindrop shape. And some of the kids have said that this shape looks like a carrot. What do you think?
You think that looks like a carrot?
Yeah.
Yes.
Squares.
She sees squares.
Great. So we see lots of shapes. What about color? Fry bread was also color.
Brown.
Light color.
Light brown. A little orange.
Some dark brown.
Like blackish brown. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's lots of colors. So even though, you know, at first you say, well, it's brown, but then if you really get close and look, you start to notice there's all sorts of different shades of brown, different textures. And so there creates some lighter browns, some darker browns. In the book, fry bread took time, right? It takes time to make and takes time to eat it. So let's talk a little bit about this. This was made by one artist whose name is Yorke. Can you say Yorke? Yorke. And Yorke is, in his country, Romania, is George, basically. So his name was George. And he made this sculpture all by himself. So how long do you think it took?
Two days, a long time. Anybody else? A year. 14 days.
Oh, that's a really specific amount of time. Yeah.
3 days. How many days?
Okay.
5 days. 10 days.
10 days. Okay.
100 days.
100 days. Okay. Yeah. So it took a while, right? We're not thinking this is something, you know, fry bread you can probably make in a half day. But this is something that would take a lot longer. So we just think about how long it took. I don't actually know how long it took, but my guess is that it would have taken quite a number of days, maybe a couple months, if not longer, depending on, you know, how much time he had to work on it. So that's one other thing we talked about. And then the last thing I wanted you to do, I have to put on some gloves so I can grab our last artwork for today. And while I'm doing that, I want you to talk with a neighbor real quietly about which of these figures would be you. If this was your family of 5 people, which one would be you? So talk to somebody next to you about that for a minute. Okay. Yeah, my hands changed color. I've got some gloves on. So real quick, raise your hand if this is the work you picked.
Who picked the first one?
Okay, raise your hand if you picked this one. Okay, raise your hand if you picked this one. How about this one?
Anybody pick
And
that one?
how about this one?
Ah.
Okay, so we kind of spread it out a little bit, but there were a few popular ones. Great. So the last work I have, again, is by a Native American artist who lives just a couple hours north of us. Her name is Yvonne Walker Keshick, and she makes these. She's really well known for making them. And I'm curious if you have any idea what this is.
What's that? What do you think it is? A box.
Okay, any other ideas?
A picture? A picture. Anybody else? What
Okay.
is that he's holding? Yes. What is it? A coin? We've got a coin and a box.
Okay, anybody else have any other ideas?
I think it could be like a drum.
Maybe a drum?
Okay. All right, well, here we go. Let's see, if it's a box, it must open, right?
It opens. Look at that.
So yeah, it is a box, and it's a round box, right? Normally boxes we think of as being square. This is a round box. What do you see on the inside? What is it made of?
Wood.
Yeah, wood. So just like this sculpture is made of wood, and it's actually like the whole trunk of the tree maybe. This is made of the bark of a tree, and it's the birch tree. So these are birch bark boxes, and birch bark is that white bark that you see that's kind of like paper. So it's very flexible, and it's good for making these kinds of boxes. But the other thing we want to look at is the outside.
What's on the outside? What's the outside made out of?
What do you think?
Well, look at those little white things. What are those little white things? Is it? Okay, we've got hair.
Okay.
Paint.
Paint.
There's little lines.
She said she sees lines.
Okay. I'll give you a hint. They come from an animal.
Okay, they come from an animal. They're a part of an animal, those white things. Skin.
Okay, I'll give you one more hint.
One more hint.
One more hint. It comes from an animal that you wouldn't want to touch because it's very pokey.
Okay, it comes from an animal that's pokey. It's got pokes.
The inside looks like tree bark and the outside looks like porcupine noodles.
Tree bark and
Oh
porcupine. Mr.
my
Abrams.
goodness. I think maybe we have an expert on our hand there.
You got it.
Yeah. They guessed it correctly. That is tree bark on the inside. This is birch bark, tree bark, you know, that you see on birch trees. You can see they sort of have a papery bark that you can peel off. And then on the outside is actually porcupine needles. So if you look at that real closely, you'll see little tiny lines, and they are sort of sewn into the birch bark or weaved into it.
Porcupine.
Yeah, porcupine. So these are the spiky part of the porcupine. These are called porcupine quills. So these are quills, and because the porcupine quills are brown and white, and they sort of go back and forth in color, artists can make designs like this one with it, brown and white. Sometimes the artists will actually make colors. They'll dye the porcupine quills like red and yellow, but this one is all natural. So the white and the brown is just the natural color of the porcupine. And of course, they made this design, and there's this sort of creature here, and you're probably thinking maybe a deer or a moose or something like that, right? There's antlers, there's some legs, and this is a special creature. This is a mythological creature. So it's more like a dragon or a thunderbird, right? It's a mythological creature. And I'm going to teach you the word for it. I'm going to teach you their word. The Anishinaabe word, so I'm taking my mask down so you can see, is Mishepashu. Can you say Mishepashu?
Mishepashu.
Yeah, Mishepashu. So this is a creature, it's a powerful mythological creature that lives under the water. And so that's what Yvonne added to her basket for this particular design. And of course, Yvonne has a sister, and her sister also makes quill boxes. And Yvonne has spent many years teaching other people to make quill boxes. So it's a tradition that's passed down, just like fry bread. Fry bread is taught to younger people so that they can learn how to do it. So I was curious if you could share with me some things that you've learned from your family, things that you either do or make that your family has taught you.
My mom taught me how to make
Muffins.
Muffins, ooh, yay.
Yeah, what about you?
my mom taught me how to make lemonade.
A lemonade stand.
Lemonade stand, okay.
My mom taught me how to make paper snowflakes.
Paper snowflakes.
Ooh, very nice. What else?
Oh, he knows how to make toast.
Great.
Okay. Yeah.
When my mom's making cookies, I help her.
He helps his mom make cookies.
My mom taught me how to use hot glue gun.
Oh, her mom taught her how to use a hot glue gun.
Nice, very cool.
My dad taught me how to cut wood and shape it.
Her dad taught her how to cut wood and shape it.
Great. So maybe one day the museum will have one of your sculptures, huh? We never know. Yeah. So our families share things with us and teach us how to do things. And I hope you'll bring your family sometime to the museum to see the works that we looked at today, because they're on exhibit. You can visit the museum in person with your family and give them a tour and talk to them about what you learned. And of course, you're in your library, right? It's a great place to read more books about family traditions, about Native American culture and food, and there's lots more to learn. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me this morning, and I hope you have a great day.
Please wave at Mr. Jason. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Mr. Greg.
All right, kids, what do we say?
You're very welcome. We'll see you later.